Hey guys, this is Angelos, and I imagine when my subscribers see this popping up in their subscription box that they're going to think I'm messing with them. Well, I'm not. It's been about 7 months since I've done a Napoleon video, so I thought it was about damn time I've do another one. Some of you might have known that my computer has been messed up. This month I'm going to try and get a new one. Until then I'll upload the occasional video, but I really can't do too many of these, I'm afraid, because when I was recording this my computer crashed 4 times, and that's just watching a replay, so that's pretty awesome. Okay, you're going to hear a lot of static coming on in this video. That's actually coming from inside your own head, so do not panic. No, it's actually an external fan cooling my PC down, I think, or it's actually just general static from my crappiness of my PC's sound system. But yeah, my case is broken and the 2 fans in the tower are bust, so I'm using an external fan to cool it down. I just assume that's what that noise is. Anyway, this is a 2v2 I fought on the Pyramids map, and it's entertaining for this reason, that there is a bajillion horses on this map, because my ally's opponent spammed all cavalry and camels. Not camels, no. I think he's got 4 camel gunners, a general, 4 Sipahi lancers, and 4 Scimitar guard, which is an interesting army. I wouldn't have uploaded this if he had not tried to double team me with my opponent, so it ends up being quite entertaining, to be honest, watching me get double teamed by 2 people. My ally, I can't pronounce his name, because you can really only pronounce my ally's name if you've got a huge amount of phlegm in your mouth. So I'm just going to call him my ally for now. Anyway, my ally's going up on the hill. There's a small force up here on the far right, because, like I said, his opponent is gone all horsies. He's going to just try and flank down off the hill, round and around my guy, and then we're going to try and go in a pincer movement. That's what he was planning, I imagine, but he has to pull back slightly because when I get double teamed later on. Okay, so I'm not going to move too far forward, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up the main French line just a couple of feet forward from where I start off, and I'm going to block off the left in a second and get my men thinned out and covering a large area, because I have to cover a large area. I have to cover the area from the left to basically the middle from any sort of cavalry attack or infantry push or anything. So I have to split off. I send an old guard and a fusilier regiment up onto the hill on the far left of my line, and you can see why, because there's a column of horses approaching in very nice parade ground fashion there. I've got my howitzer unlimbered, and when they're in range I'm going to start firing at those cav. Right, now here, this is probably the slowest camel attack you'll ever see ever. Yeah, I don't know what's happening in here. When you've got so many of horses, so many cav, the micro in that is just impossible. So I think what's happened there is a micro mistake, because there's that camel unit and a Sipahi lancer are going to just walk straight into my line in a second. So yeah, that's probably a micro mistake by my opponent. But when you bring 20 bajillion cavalry, you've got to expect mistakes like that to happen. So yeah, I've got my howitzers firing at the camels as they slowly approach me up over that hill. I move my chasseurs back just so they don't fire into the ridge, and I've got them off fire at will for now. As you can see over here, I've managed to choke off this left part. What I'm going to do is I'm going to form squares over here, because when his column approaches he'll have to go through that area, or because I assumed he'd just have it in a big blob and try and smash through my left flank, and then round and round back in my army. Hang on, let's just watch this. The death of the camel gunner unit. It is a sad moment. Saeed will be playing the smallest violin in the world when he sees that. Yeah, and as you can see, this Sipahi lancer comes in, and he just I would have pulled it out, but for some reason he charges it right the way across my front line, and then I form a square because I can see where he's gonna charge. They don't kill anyone, and they all rout. Anyway, this is the funny bit on the left. Okay, here we go. So the cav spam all comes charging into this one old guard square unit, and that one old guard square unit completely massacres them, as you'll see in a second. You shouldn't, when you've got cav and a lot of it, the one thing you don't want to be charging is a square of old guard, because no matter how many cav you've got, they're all going to die. And I've got my artillery raining death on them as well. He's got a few like mounted Nizam rifles as well as camel gunners, I remember. So he's going to try and fire at my squares as well as charging cavalry through. So he's going to be shooting his own cav who are in melee with me. Now you might be thinking at this point, why the hell have I uploaded this? This is complete nonsense. But honestly, this is the most interesting battle I have fought. So yeah, you gotta try and imagine what the other ones were like. Here he tries to charge a Chasseur regiment, but I pull it back for a square and he gets nicked, snagged I should say, on the square. And I'm just protecting my howitzer. You can see my cav just sat back. I'm waiting for this cav force to be depleted, and then I'll go and mop up all the survivors. He's already run from one side of the map to the other as well, so even if he is playing as Ottomans, his horses are going to get quite tired, and by the time they get up here they're winded or tired, so that's kind of nullified their charge bonus. Okay, so here I move my left flank to try and pin all of his cav into the far side of the map. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get his cav isolated and destroy it before my actual opponent, the Ottoman my opponent from the start, I think his name's Onion Boy or something, comes up and attacks me. So well, here unfortunately does break the old guard square, because yeah, once a square has been in combat for so long in melee like that, it does get broken, and I can't reform it since the patch, so I have to pull it out. I would have just reformed it, but they've outlawed that now. I didn't even know that until a couple of days ago. That shows how much I play this game. Right, anyway, I pull the old guard out, and correctly he's shooting out with camel gunners and God knows what else. He'll charge it in the back with a Sipahi Lancer unit in a sec. Now I was going to move my men round, you can see him flanking, and completely isolate his cav and destroy it, but then my opponent comes up and moves some rifle units up, and I have to pull this flanking force back. You can see it all readjusting now, and he gets some good shots on that line unit. That's flanking. Okay, so I got one Fusilier regiment still in square, but as there's nothing in melee with it, I'm just getting shot by his mounted Nizam rifles at the moment, so I'm going to pull that back as well. And he's gonna see that as an opportunity to break through on my left, and it doesn't quite work like that, as you'll see. So my ally is up on the hill, destroyed the few Ottomans that were opposing him, and he is coming down. He's trying not to run because it's the desert, and if you run in the desert as the Prussians, you tend to pass out from heat stroke. So he's trying to walk slowly up into position to get in range of the Ottoman, so he doesn't have too much heat fatigue when he arrives. Okay, so here, a bit of a micro mistake by me. He charges a Sipahi Lancer through my old guard and hits my Lancers in the back while they're not looking. I was actually focusing on the other side and trying to readjust my cavalry, and then I realised, oh crap, I'm being attacked in melee, by which time, miraculously, even though my cav had been charged in the ass by an Ottoman Lancer unit, the Ottoman Lancer unit is the one that routs before I even realise what's happened. Okay, so this is what I was trying to micro, and that's why that happened. When my opponent comes out to attack me and flanks my flanking force, I then push out my right flank to flank his flanking force, if that makes any sense at all. If it doesn't, I'll draw a diagram if you must. Yeah, so here's the remaining cav up on the hill, and about this time I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, wow, there's a couple of camels there, and there's a flipping general, and I think, well, it's time for me to send in my own cav who are fresh, and they're stinking camels. So I just charge up there in a sec. There you go, you can see my men moving. I think, is that a charge? No, it's a movement order. You'll see the charge in a sec. I moved my depleted line back up on the hill. Now that old guard square took out 6 Lancer regiments on its own before it got broken. So I find that a tad impressive, I have to say. Right here, this is what I'm going to do now. I'm going to mop up this cav on the left so I can flank my main Ottoman opponent, not the cav spammer guy, and with my ally, and then we're going to get him into pincer movement. So like I said, this is actually the most interesting battle I have fought. I've done about 10 up to this point, and this was the most interesting one. See, that's technically not accurate, because I don't think cavalry would actually want to charge headlong after stinking camels like that. They'd probably run away themselves. But anyway, this is a game, so that's what happens. As you can see, one charge by all my Chevalier Guerre completely routs all of his cav, and so that's completely destroyed him in, well, one or two attacks, really. 2 squares, artillery, flanking force, cav, done. He's dead. And that's 16 cav he's lost in a couple of minutes, and he's killed, what, half of an old guard and half of a Fusilier? it's not really worth it, is it, to be honest? Now this is Onion Boy, my main opponent. He's moved up. He's tried to flank me, but he's been flanked at the same time because his ally wasn't the brightest spark ever to spam cavalry. I'll explain why in a second. It's actually fairly obvious why. Anyway, so he for some reason decides to charge up the hill. This is my main ally's cav, not the cav spammer's cav this time. Charge up the hill into my Chevalier. So all I do is a Scimitar Lance unit. So I charge down the hill, get the downhill charge bonus of my Lancers, flank it with my Lancers, squish. It routs, and that's one very expensive cavalry unit sandwiched and destroyed in a matter of seconds. And I pull back up the hill, and he then sends a Delhi horseman unit over to do exactly the same thing. So, yeah, good stuff. I'll countercharge that exactly the way I did with the Scimitar unit, and it'll go the same way. So what I'm gonna, by now it's a done deal, really. I've got a fairly intact army. My ally's got a fairly intact army, and yeah, we're basically 2v1, which is a shame. Because otherwise it probably would have been, a more normal fight, I think. I've never seen that many cav since Empire. Actually, it was the first time I've seen a cav spam of that size. But saying that, I played with Sino today, and there was a cav spammer on there and a Voltigare spammer on there. So I find that rather amusing. I don't understand why you'd want to spam Voltigare of all things, but go for it. So, yeah, that's another waste of a Scimitar Lancer unit. Charges headlong into my skirmisher unit. Simple stuff. Pull it back through a line, and it gets massacred. Yeah. So, you'll see what happens now. My ally's flanking round the back, and he's pushing up close to me now, so there's no gap, so no cav can get through and take any art out, which is what you should have done with that cav spam, is go for weaker units like skirms, art, or cav, not line and squares. So, right, why don't you spam cav on Napoleon? I mean, it works. It would sort of work if you 2v1 the guy like they were trying to do with me. There's some more extremely slow camels there, panicking. It would work if you 2v1'd and you had a lot of coordination, but it's making it so difficult for yourself, because that amount of cav, you just can't control it all. You're going to make mistakes, and you've seen mistakes there, and it's just a bit silly. And here, because my opponent, Onion Seller or whatever his name is flanked on all sides, is completely encircled. He has to pull his line out to try and deal with flanking forces behind him. There's me shooting at my own units, which is smart. And I just send in a Chasseur à Cheval shooter cav, run him down the skirmisher line, which is now unprotected, then smash into the back of a line unit, which gives my men the opportunity to push up, and this will be the end of the Almond guy. Here, again, it's just he charges into a Lancer unit with a Camel unit and another Lancer unit. I flank it. I pull the original Lancer unit out, then a three-pronged Cavalry Lancer assault on this Camel unit, and the cav sends it packing. Right, so yeah, that was oddly the most interesting battle on Napoleon I had fought so far. I'm going to try the campaign out, but since I had to reformat my hard drive, I lost it, so I've got to restart all the way from the beginning. But seeing as I've already got anywhere anyway, I took one province and then that was the end of it. I haven't got really that much to redo. Yeah. That's about it, really, to be honest. I mean, like I said, it's a bizarre battle, that's why I uploaded it. Don't understand why people spam things. I mean, artillery spam. I played that the other day. Voltigare spam. So I've had Voltigare light spam, cav spam, and art spam. We've had all the spams, and it's just weird. I don't get why people play like that. Right, anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for the patience for everyone on YouTube, and I'll try and see if I can find any more interesting replays for you guys in the future. Yeah, until next time.